Okay, how's everyone doing? I haven't done a review on a sword in like a really long time. Um, and this happened to be all by accident. So yesterday we're in a thrift store looking around and something catches our eye. So we leave and we're like, is it really a real one? Okay. So we come home, we research it as best as we can. Turns out, and then we go back and look at it, it is a real one. So what is it? It's this guy right here. Okay. So let me get a little bit closer. It's this guy right here. Now it looks like a saber, which it kind of is modeled after a saber. But this is a cute gunto. So this was for naval, Japanese naval, and troops. This one specifically is a naval officer's cute gunto. So the handle, and I'll have some images that are dropped in. The handle is modeled after a French saber. But the blade is a lot different. So this is a machine blade. And Japan did make machine blades back in the day. Okay, before World War II. It's got the bohea in it and whatnot. Now this one has a etched hamon because it would have been made, this one's made out of spring steel. That's what they made them out of. They also did chrome plate their blades. Especially for naval, because of the salt air, they would rust. And then if you listen real carefully, you hear a click. Right there, it's hard to see because of the rust, is a little button. That button keeps it from falling out, kind of like a shin gunto. Now, the reason why people really want shin guntos is because some of them were real, had antique katana blades on them. These didn't. Okay, so these are machine blade. Some of them were chrome plated like this one. This is more of a dress, basically, gunto, so the edge isn't sharp. Okay, kind of like during the Edo period, where if you went to see the shogun, you had to take off both your swords, just in case you tried to like assassinate somebody. You couldn't. Same kind of premise. Okay. So now some had 2 rings, some had 1 ring. If you had 2 rings, you're a higher rank. Some with the lower one, you may have not been as high as rank, or it was just how the person made basically the scabbard. Now some have come on right here. Not all of them did, which would have been your family crest. This one does not, because like I said, this is like for an officer's dress. So like I was saying, you're getting together with other officers in command, and so this would be hanging off your uniform. It is a pinged back. I don't know if you can see that right there. This piece is a little loose. Okay. Now they produced these between 1875 to about 1932, 34. 34 is when they totally decommissioned these. Some of these probably wound up during World War II, yes. But these were stopped pre-wartime, before Japan got involved into World War II. So it's a little bit part of history. It's actually not in terrible condition. The handle is leather. The wire wrapping is a little, I don't want to handle it too much, because some of them are kind of loose and the wires are kind of messed up. The other thing is, I don't know if you can see it, but the blade, whoever had this, the blade goes that way, bent the hell out of this thing. That was a problem with these. When people brought them back from World War II, they just abused the shit out of them, which is really a shame. Especially the shin guntos, because like I said, some of them, those had antique blades that even went past the Edo period time. And they just gave them to the kids and let them beat them on trees and rocks and everything else and destroyed them. So it's kind of messed up. But the scabbard is also a little bent, the blade's bent, but there's no splits in it. And the lock still works. In fact, I tried to get, this one was kind of hard to film, so there's not going to be a lot of drop-in images, unfortunately. But I found out, I'll see if I can't get it in there. Right here where my finger's pointing. Let me see if I can't get a little closer. That is a little leather pad right here. Okay. So that is so when you drop it in here, it doesn't like beat up the guard. And from what I found out, a lot of times when people find these, the leather pad is gone because let's face it, leather doesn't last forever and it likes to deteriorate fairly quickly in the elements. But this one does have the leather pad. The only thing it's missing is the leather tassel that would have been on the back here that hangs off. Other than that, everything's intact. And there's the mouth of the scabbard. It's actually really cool. Now this blade length, I measured it, is 29 inches. And it's fairly light little blade. Like I said, mainly officers would have had these. Someone in command. But other than that, regular troops wouldn't have had these. In fact, during World War II, they were still kind of like certain blades that were chrome plating. They went as far as with some of the shin guntos of making them out of stainless steel because they're running out of metal. So not all the shin guntos had antique blades. In fact, they pulled away from that, started making blades like this that were machine made, and then some out of stainless steel. The machine made ones, I believe, were spring steel. So you're not going to have a real hamon on those. But overall, it's not in terrible condition. You could tell that it has wear on it. The ornament carvings in it are really nice. It is real brass, the whole guard. This is just regular steel scabbard. Gonna leave it the way it is. Hang it up on our wall. And be a nice addition, kind of like the doll that I have hanging up in our house. But yeah, I was surprised when we saw this in the thrift store. You know, because my wife was like, "Do you think that's real?" And we started doing research, and it's a real one. The only difference is this would have been a combative one. This is, like I said, ceremonial, basically. But yeah, this is a gunto, which means old weapon. The funny thing is, these and shin guntos are illegal in Japan. You're not allowed to own these because these were considered weapons. So you're not allowed to own them. Unlike the katana, which is considered an art piece. That's why you can own them there. But these would have been used during the Russo War of the time. And like I said, the hilt was fashioned from a French saber. Now the difference is the handle is a lot shorter than a regular French saber. U.S. cavalry people get our want the U.S. cavalry sword. It's the same thing. It's modeled after the French saber. So really, you're buying a French saber is what you're buying, okay? Because America never really designed their own sword. They just copied other people. Kind of like Japan. Japan did. The only difference was the blade, like this one, is more fashioned like a katana. It's just not as wide. It's a lot thinner. It's got the bohei in it. And the bohei stops right here for a reason. Because that's where it locks in. Is at the very end of the bohei. So it locks it into there. This doesn't have a habaki because it doesn't need it. So a lot of people say, oh, if it doesn't have a habaki, then it's not a true, gunto. No. Guntos don't have a habaki neither because they have a button that you press to draw the sword, because the gunto, I found out, was modeled off of the tachi. It's just a shorter version of it and less curvature. Like this one. This has a less curve than a traditional katana. But they pulled away from this during World War II when they got involved. In World War II, it went back to more traditional style. Whereas this one, they were trying to modernize more of their country. And they felt, screw that, we're going to go back to what we normally do. So it's a nice little piece of history. Like I said, I was lucky that we just happened to walk in and find it and see it there. So yeah. Doesn't always have to be something that you can cut with. There's so many different swords throughout history that weren't used for battle that I think most of us overlook and don't think much about. So here, like this, yeah, it wasn't designed for battle. It was designed for dress, but it's still a part of our the world's history. So, and it's not very often you find these ones. And there's variation designs to each handle, but the ones that you normally see, the handle's longer. From World War II, the handle's the longer, so this is actually, the handles come out to here. So you can put two hands on it. This is a one-handed, like I said, just shortened down. But yeah, don't overlook, parts of our history just because you can't cut with it. It still has meaning to it. And by getting them, you keeping the history, alive. So, yep. Always keep your eye open because you never know what you can find. Still always look in thrift stores for guntos, shin guntos, because there was thousands of them in the United States at one time after World War II. So you never know. You might be able to find them. But that's all I have for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And have a good one.